in the vast, verdant heart of the Brazilian wilderness in 1923, there was a place called Hoer Verde. It wasn't just a settlement. It was a thriving community of 600 souls, men, women, and children who had built a life beneath the heavy canopy of the jungle. They had homes, a school, and a shared future. But on one particular Tuesday in late 1923, that future simply ceased to exist. When a small group of travelers and government officials arrived at the outskirts of the village, they didn't find the bustling sounds of a frontier town. They didn't find the smoke of cooking fires or the chatter of children. Instead, they were met with a silence so absolute it felt heavy against their skin. As the travelers stepped into the main square, the scene they encountered was like a photograph frozen in time. Front doors stood wide open, inviting the humid jungle air inside. On the dining tables of nearly every home, meals were still laid out. Plates of food were cold, but they hadn't been touched. Half-filled cups of coffee sat beside open books, and tools lay scattered in the dirt paths where they had been dropped. There were no signs of a struggle. No blood stains on the whitewashed walls. No spent shell casings from a desperate defense. It was as if the entire population of 600 people had simultaneously heard a sound only they could understand, stood up from their lives, and walked into the trees without ever looking back. The search party eventually made their way to the center of the village, to the small, one-room schoolhouse. The air inside was cool and smelled of old chalk and cedar. On the desks, open notebooks showed the unfinished lessons of the morning, but it was the large blackboard at the front of the room that stopped the men cold. In a hurried, jagged hand, someone had scrawled a single sentence in Portuguese that would become the only epitaph for the village. Now há salvação. There is no salvation. For weeks, the Brazilian military combed the surrounding rainforest. They were looking for any sign of a mass migration, trampled undergrowth, discarded belongings, or, more darkly, a mass grave. They found nothing. 600 people do not move through a dense jungle without leaving a trace. Yet not a single person from Hoer Verde was ever seen again. No bodies were recovered. No survivors emerged from the tree line months later with a story to tell. They were gone, as if they had been erased from the map by a giant hand. In the decades since, the metadata of the case has been scrutinized by historians and skeptics alike. Some suggest a sudden outbreak of a violent disease, yet that doesn't explain the lack of bodies or the deliberate message on the blackboard. Others point to the political instability of 1920s Brazil, suggesting the village was cleared by a roaming guerrilla force. But soldiers leave footprints and bullets leave scars. Hoer Verde left only a chilling silence and a warning that there is no salvation to be found in the dark. Today, the site of the village has been reclaimed by the jungle. The whitewashed walls have crumbled into the soil and the blackboard is rotted away. But the question remains, what did those 600 people see that made them abandon their meals, their homes, and their lives in a single instant? Was it a threat from this world, or something that seemed to break the laws of physics? Tell me your theories in the comments. Do you think they fled from something they saw, or were they taken by something we cannot see? Join us next week for another 3-minute descent into the unexplained.